There we go. All right, welcome, fam. Today we're going to be talking about ANTS, A-N-T-S, and that stands for automatic negative thoughts. Okay, automatic negative thoughts. Now I want you guys to write these down. Yeah, Dr. Daniel Amen is the one. Okay, totally okay, Charlene. I want you guys to write these down. There are 9 automatic negative thought types. Okay, number 1 is all or nothing. All or nothing. Number 2 is just the bad. And I'm going to go over like what each of these are and give you guys some examples. But I want you to write these down first. Just the bad. Number 3, guilt beating. Okay, guilt beating. Number 4, labeling. Labeling. Number 5, fortune telling. Okay, fortune telling. Number 6, mind reading. I know we got some mind readers in here, huh? Mind reading. Number 7, blaming. Blaming. Number 8, less than. Less than. And number 9 is, it kind of has 2. It's if only and all be happy when. Okay, if only and all be happy when. And I'm going to put those in the chat box right here in case you missed any of them. Okay, that way you guys make sure and get them written down. Okay. All right. Now let's go through each of these because I want you guys to truly understand what these are. I'm going to give some examples. I am going to ask for some participation from you guys, so be ready. All right, be ready over here. All right, so the first one, guys, all or nothing. Here's some examples that are specific to our business, okay? Because when I was making these examples, obviously the book gave some about just general life, right? But I didn't want just general life. I wanted it to be specific to this business. So some of the examples that I came up with. I'll never be as good of a leader as others. I'll never be as good. If I don't hit gold by cutoff, I'll never hit it. The job boards never work for me. I'll never get a booking. All my clients just ghost me because I'm not a good travel agent. Y'all, all or nothing, these are negative thoughts that split things into absolutes, right? Everything is either all good or all bad. It's what we would call your black and white thinking, right? Those people that have, you're like, oh, they're such a black and white thinker, right? It's either right or wrong. There's no gray area. That's all or nothing. I want you guys to take a minute for yourself, and I want you in the chat box, I want you to tell me, what are some all or nothing statements that you have said to yourself? And it can be one of the ones that I shared if that fits for you. But I want you to think about some ones for you. What is an all or nothing statement that you have said about your business? And remember, it's everything is either good or bad. There's no gray area. There's no like, oh, it's okay, right? I won't ever get a booking, right? I know a lot of people that have said that. What else, guys? Give me some other examples in the chat box of some all or nothing statements that you have said about the job boards. Okay. I'm not ever going to make as much money as. Ooh, I like it. That's a good one, Leah. That's a good one. So guys, for our homework, what we're going to do is I'm going to have you guys write out on a piece of paper some statements specific to you in each of these categories. Okay, so as you're putting them in the chat box, I want you to also write them on your piece of paper. That way you have that part done. Okay. If I don't make anything by the end of the year, will it be worth it? Okay. I won't get a business partner. I'm never going to reach gold. Those are good ones, y'all. I'm not going to be good enough to continue this as a career. Ooh, good one, Haley. All right. So I want you guys to write those down. Okay. I'm not good. I'm not enough. Ooh, Cydia, that's a good one. I like it. All right. Now let's go on to the next one. Okay. The next one is just the bad. Here's some examples. Okay. And be thinking about how this applies to you and what are some of the ones that you have said. Just the bad. Nobody ever uses a travel agent anymore. I work hard daily to prospect, but everyone else does better than me. One of my agents quit, so I must be a terrible mentor. Y'all, these automatic negative thoughts fill your head with failure, frustration, sadness, and fear. That's it. Right? Basically, in this, all you're doing is seeing the negativity in the situation. There's not even any good, right? The all or nothing was it's either all good or all bad. This is just everything is bad, right? There is no good, basically. So give me some examples of some statements you have made that is just the bad. I won't get enough clients to quit my day job. I only attract small business. Ooh, Sheila. Give me some examples. I'll never get the hang of social media marketing. Okay. Some of those examples I gave. Nobody ever uses a travel agent anymore. I work hard daily to prospect, but everyone else does better than me. One of my agents quit, so I must be a bad mentor. Right? Nobody will want to use me as a TA. Nobody believes in this business. That's a good one, Cydia. My town is too small for business. Oh, Aaliyah. I like it. I'm not a good leader. I can't keep up with everything I need to do to be successful. Why everybody can do it and not me? Good. Okay. Make sure you're writing these down on your piece of paper too, guys. The next one, guilt beating. Y'all, I'm going to tell you right now, and you can double check me on this and ask our amazing Christina G. Bertels. And I give her full permission to tell you the truth if she needs to. Guilt beating. I have literally done this to her before where I said this exact statement. Well, maybe not these exact words, but same meaning. I should be farther along in this journey. Right? For me, when I first started, I didn't team build for the first 6 months. Right? I've made a comment to her before about, man, I should have started team building from the get-go. Where would I be now? I should have. Right? I should have started from the beginning. I should have team built sooner. I could have been farther. Right? Some of the other ones, I should have worked more to hit my goals. I ought to have more clients. Guys, these guilt beating is when you are caught in the shoulds, must-haves, and oughts, and you're beating yourself up for where you should be versus where you are. Right? I should have more bookings. All the above, Camille said. Leah, I like it. She said, every time she leaves somewhere, I should have handed out business cards. I should have taken this more seriously in the beginning. Right? Guys, number one, I should be more committed. I like it. Number one, this is something I always tell whenever I was in counseling, whenever I was counseling my agents or my clients. I specialized in addiction recovery, right? Because I'm in recovery myself. So I really connected with that population. One thing I would always hear from them is they would have a relapse, right? Like they would make a poor choice, they would drink, they would use, they would have a relapse. And they would always come to me, I should have done better. I shouldn't have relapsed. I shouldn't have done this. And they would be caught in the shoulds, right? We like to say they'd be shoulding all over themselves, right? But they would be caught in the shoulds, right? And here's what I would always tell people in that moment. Number one, we made a mistake, right? They made a mistake. And while that sucks, none of us have a time machine, right? I'm not aware of anybody in the world who has created a time machine where we can go back in time and redo something, right? If they have, let me jump on that bad boy. But, but as far as I know, that has not come out, right? So that's not even an option. So we have to stop focusing on what we should have done in the past because it is a dead end road, right? I can go to Christina and I can say, I should have started 6 months sooner. I should have team built from the beginning. But here's what that does. It's a dead end. It doesn't get me anywhere, right? Because I can't go back in time and start team building from the beginning. I can't change that. So to focus on that, all it does is stop my growth in the current moment, right? In reality, it just stops my growth because I'm focused on things that I can't change instead of focusing on what can I do now to continue growing, right? I love the saying, there's a reason that the windshield is so much bigger than the rear view mirror. We should be looking forward, not looking backwards, right? And I love that saying because it's so simple, but it's so relatable, right? The windshield compared to a rear view mirror, the windshield is massive because we need to see where we're going, right? That rear view mirror is so small, we don't need to know what's behind us all the time. We don't need to be looking back there nearly as much, right? So what it does is it just stops our progress forward because if I'm looking backward, I can't look forward. As much as I tell my son that I can see behind me and I have superpowers, I don't, right? He does believe me though. He thinks I can see through walls. It's hilarious. But as much as I tell him I have eyes in the back of my head and I can see him behind me and in front of me, we know that's not true, right? So if I'm looking behind me, I don't know what's in front of me and I can't focus on that. The next one, labeling. Okay. Now, basically, this is where you are labeling yourself. I suck. I'm a bad mentor. Someone said it a minute ago, right? I suck at booking travel. I'm terrible at marketing. Here you are labeling yourself in a negative way. And all this does is inhibit your ability to look at a situation honestly. It is devastating to your self-esteem and confidence. Y'all, if I sit here and tell myself I'm a bad mentor, I believe it, right? I'm going to start believing that. And then I'm going to move and act in a way that makes me a bad mentor, right? If I tell myself I'm a bad mentor, I'm not going to put in the extra work, right? I'm going to stop scheduling one-on-ones. I'm going to stop prospecting as much. I'm going to stop doing those things that help me grow. If I tell myself I'm terrible at booking travel, or as Sheila said, I'm a bad marketer, well, then that gives me the excuse to not grow in that area, right? That gives me an excuse to just say, I'm bad at marketing. And then it's like, well, okay, well, I don't need to do it. No, if we struggle, this is the word I always use with people. If you struggle with marketing, that's okay. That just means you need some extra time in it. You need some extra help. You need some extra training. You need to work harder in that area, right? Another one, fortune telling. This one, some examples. This is my favorite one too. I had to throw this one in here because I hear this one all the time, y'all. And if it's calling you out, good. Fortune telling. Building on social media will never work for me. I'd die if I had to present or train for everybody. I would never make a good mentor. I'll never be successful at marketing on social media like Tommy Joe. These automatic negative thoughts think they can see the future, and the future is doomed. This fearful approach causes you to be riddled with anxiety and remain stagnant. Another thing that I am 110% sure of is that nobody can see the future. Now, you got fortune tellers that claim that they can see the future, right? But y'all, as far as I know, there is nobody that can walk in here today and tell me, Ashley, here's how your life is going to go next year, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, and be accurate, right? Every moment. There's nobody that can do that. So why do we do that to ourselves? Why do we tell ourselves a future that's doomed when we have no idea what the future holds? Little backstory about myself, y'all. Whenever I was going through school, my husband and I couldn't work because I was in school. I had to do an internship that was not paid. Had to do an internship, and I had a baby that was less than a year old during that time. He was about 6 months when I started my internship, and it was my first, right? So I'm still trying to figure out how to be a mom. But I was trying to do all of that and go to school, right? And try to finish up my master's degree. I couldn't work. I didn't have time to, literally did not have time to have a job. We had to be on food stamps in order to just get by, right? Because Craig was the only one working. He didn't make very much money. Like we were broke, y'all. Like we were broke. I was having to borrow money from my parents just to pay bills, right? Thank goodness I had them. If you would have told me in that moment that I would later, at that time it was probably 5 or 6 years, 5 or 6 years later, I would join a company and be in the top 10 income earners of that company, I would have told you you were freaking nuts. I'd have told you you'd been smoking some kind of drugs. You didn't know what you were talking about. That would never happen to me. But that's exactly what did happen, right? Had you asked me back then, I would have thought that I was in my master's program. I thought I was going to be a therapist forever, right? And my life took a massive 180 and I went in a completely different direction. And I didn't know that my life was going to do that, right? Because I can't see the future. But here's the difference, y'all. I didn't have a closed mind about my future. I was open to different possibilities. I was open to the next thing that was thrown at me. And because my mind was open, when this opportunity came along, I was receptive to it. And then when I got in this opportunity and I started connecting with people like Christina and Amy and Tommy, right? Coach Val, all of them. When I started connecting with them, I was open to their coaching, their feedback, their guidance. And that's what allowed me to continue to grow, right? If we tell ourselves that basically our future is dim, right? We're doomed to always be in the situation that we're in. That's exactly where we're going to stay. We will never be open-minded, coachable, and grow if we continue to tell ourselves that our future sucks, right? There's no future for us. The next one, mind reading. And y'all, listen, I warned Amy and Christina and Tommy that I was going to use their names in my examples last night. So I just used people's names because I needed you guys to be able to relate to them, but these are not statements that they would actually do, okay? But mind reading. Amy thinks I could never be a good mentor. Christina said that because she doesn't like me. Right? Mind reading is these automatic negative thoughts. You are convinced that you can read other people's minds and see inside their thoughts. You are assuming you know what they think, right? You're assuming that, oh, Christina sent me this message and I took it in a bad way, so she must hate me. Right? I told so-and-so that I wanted to team build and they didn't, guide me, or they didn't show me what to do. They must think I'll be a bad mentor. I shouldn't do it. Y'all, the problem with that is 99.9% of the time, you are assuming something that is incorrect. And the reason is because you put a negative spin on it every single time. Right? I love what Cassie put, and we say this all the time, right? The assuming and what it means. She put it in the chat right there. You can read it. Yeah, Leah, absolutely. I like it, Cindy. Because of my health condition, I will never be a successful travel agent as they are. Right? All right. Blaming. Oh, I love this one too. It's the job board's fault I can't hit these ranks. If only my kids weren't so busy, I could be more successful at this. If I didn't have life stuff happening, I could focus more on my business. If my mentor was there more, I could be successful. Don't even get me started on that one, y'all. These automatic negative thoughts don't want you to admit your mistakes or shortcomings. Instead, they allow you to blame everyone else but yourself for the circumstance that you're in. Y'all, number one, for those of you who don't know me very well or don't know how I started in this business and everything, I responded to a thing on Facebook to sit on the meeting and all of that. Y'all, in the first year, I talked to my mentor less than a handful of times. She didn't guide me. She didn't teach me. Didn't really do much, right? To this day, we still have talked probably less than 20 times, and I've been here for over 3 years. Okay. We don't talk. We never have. She's never guided me. The only thing she did was open the next step for me whenever I needed it. That's it. She's never taught me anything. But here's, and this is my soapbox that I sit on, just so y'all know. Those of you that know me know this is my soapbox. Your mentor does not determine your success. That is on you. Sometimes, unfortunately, we're going to have recruiters in this business. And if that's the case, so be it, right? You are in charge of your success. Stop blaming your mentor for not showing you the way. There are too many leaders, especially on this team, that are willing to help even when you're not direct to us. There are too many of us willing to help. There are too many fellow travel agents in the chats willing to help when you have a question. Stop blaming your mentor. Right? The other soapbox that I'm going to sit on this one is, if only my kids weren't so busy, I could be more successful. Or if I didn't have life stuff happening, I could focus more on my business. Y'all, number one, life is gonna life. That's a constant. Right? Life will always life. And let me tell you, there's a handful of people that know what my current life situation, but I've got some serious stuff going on in my personal life, right? Some big life stuff. Y'all, it does not stop me from working my business because I don't use it as an excuse. And I very well could. I very well could say, you know what, Amy, I need to take a step back from trainings and presenting. I need to take a step back, right? I could tell my team, hey, y'all, I need to check out for a little bit. I got all this life going on. I don't do that, y'all, because I know that what's going on in life is temporary, but this business is forever, right? This business is going to continue. And the life stuff, it's temporary. It will get resolved one way or another, right? It will subside one way or another. And I've got agents that they go through major life stuff. They've, they have some massive stuff, and they chose to take a step back. Y'all, I choose to step into my business more. When life is happening like that, I choose to step into my business more because number one, I have a community here, right? I know that I can talk to my people, my team, right? My tribe. They can help me navigate that. Right? So don't let life become the excuse. That is just a way for you to blame someone else instead of taking the responsibility to say, I didn't put in the time. I didn't put in the time. I didn't make it a priority. I didn't do this. Right? We can't blame others. Y'all, all those do is make it to where you don't have to take responsibility for it, right? And it gives you the excuse to then say, well, it's not my fault. This is happening to me and I have no control over it. But we do, right? The next one, less than. Some examples. I'm not smart enough. I'm not capable enough. I'm not enough. I'm not strong enough. These are some of the most toxic automatic negative thoughts to your self-esteem. Generally, you're comparing yourself to a false sense of someone else. Perfect example, the rise in teenage depression and suicide. Y'all, they are telling themselves they're not enough while they are comparing themselves to somebody's best version on social media. You guys tell me, do you go put your real self on social media all the time, or do you put the highlights? Because we're all guilty of putting the highlights, right? Perfect example. A few years ago, I took my kids to go get pictures, right? It was, I think it was actually Bryson's birthday pictures, but he wanted Cooper in some of them. But when it was time to let Cooper in them, he started throwing a fit. Bryson did. It was a whole meltdown. Y'all, I about lost my ever loving mind. I about walked out of the middle of the pictures and said, screw it. No more. Right? Like my mom and my grandma were there. They were trying to help. I literally was about to just throw my hands up and say, forget it. We're done. Right? Like I was done. I was at the nut house at that point in my mind. But then we get the pictures finally done. He finally cooperates. We get the pictures done. I post the pictures on social media. You would never know the hell we went through because those pictures were adorable. They caught the photographer did her job. She caught some adorable moments where he was actually cooperating, right? Now, for me, I like to be transparent. Now, granted, I'm not going to share all my business, but I like to be transparent when I can. So on the post, I put on there, don't let the pictures fool you. This was the most stressful, frustrating moment of the day, right? Probably of the whole week. I let them know because I know that when people look at those pictures, they think, oh, her kids just went in there. They just took these amazing pictures. But when my kids go in, they're a freaking nutcase. I can't ever get pictures, right? We compare ourselves to somebody else's highlight, somebody else's best version. But when we're comparing, we're taking our worst moments or our worst traits and comparing it to their best ones. Y'all know how we talk about don't compare apples to oranges on a trip. Make sure everything matches. Same thing. Don't compare your worst traits to somebody else's best traits. In fact, just don't compare yourself because everybody's journey is different, right? And don't get me wrong, I can be guilty of comparing my journey to others, right? I should have already hit this 2-star. Why can't I do it? I should have because so-and-so did it over here. But y'all, my journey and their journey is vastly different. I don't know what's going on in their personal life compared to my personal life, right? I don't know what they had to overcome. They don't know what I had to overcome. We can't compare because it's apples to oranges, right? When we compare, like, oh, so-and-so got their first booking in their first week. But what you may not know is that maybe that's their mom who's super supportive of them and wanted to help them out, right? Maybe it's a family member. Maybe they have already booked travel for their family and friends before they became a travel agent. So now that they became a travel agent, nothing's different. They still book for the same people. While you're having to build something from the ground up, you've never booked travel. You've never had a supportive family, right? Apples to oranges, y'all, apples to oranges on that. The last one, if only or I'll be happy when. If only or I'll be happy when. If only I had started earlier, right? I talked about that one earlier. If only I had a better mentor. Again, don't get me started. If only I had the time to make this work. I'll be happy when I hit gold, platinum, 1-star, 2-star, so on. I'll be happy when I get my IATAN card. In this book, y'all, they quoted Byron Katie. I don't know who that is. Maybe y'all do, but Byron Katie once said, whenever you argue with reality, welcome to hell. Spending time in regret for the past only causes pain and frustration. We don't have a time machine. We have to keep moving forward. Y'all, let me tell you right now, one of the biggest things that you have to choose daily is to be happy in the moment. To be happy in the moment. If you can't be happy with where you are now, you won't be happy when you hit whatever rank or goal you're going for. Because happiness is a choice. It is not a destination. It is not a rank. It is not any of that stuff. It is a choice to be happy in the moment. Now, does that mean that you have to accept where you're at and not want more? No, that's not what I'm saying. I want to be 2-star, but that doesn't mean that I'm unhappy being 1-star. That just means I'm happy where I'm at. I'm thankful for the rank I'm at, the team I have, all of that, but I want more. I want to continue to push myself. I want to continue to grow. So we have to learn how to be happy in the moment that we're in, or we will never be happy when we hit these goals that we think are going to make us happy. Right? If only I had more clients, I'll be happy when I can quit my day job. Right? Y'all, you got to learn how to be happy now, but want more for yourself to continue growing. And I like that quote, right? When you argue with reality, welcome to hell. Y'all, welcome to hell, because if I'm arguing with my reality right now, I'm going to drive myself nuts. Absolutely nuts. Right? Like that's the hamster wheel. Like you just get on the hamster wheel and start going, but you ain't moving nowhere. Right? Or the rocking chair. I always use that one in counseling. I was like, so you're going to worry about something that you have no control over. It's like sitting in a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but you're not going anywhere. You're not moving. Right? It's the same thing. Same thing. Guys, our brains are hardwired to focus on the negative because for so long, it was our way of survival. When cavemen walked the earth, when we roamed around and there wasn't civilization like there is now, right? We lived basically in the wild with the wild animals. We had the potential to be eaten, right? On a regular basis. So their brains had to focus on the potential danger in order to stay safe. But nowadays, that's not the case. Is there still danger out there? Yes. But is it as prevalent as it was? No, right? Not that kind of danger. But our brains don't understand the difference now, right? They are hardwired. That is the way God made us, was to be hardwired to keep ourselves safe and watch for potential danger, right? We have to work to see the positive and not focus on the negative. Think about the news. And y'all, I don't watch the news for this very reason. 90% of the stories are negative, right? Because our minds feed off of that. Our minds run wild with that information and fear that they show us on there. There's a school shooting, there's a murder, someone was raped, there was a gang violence, right? They will flood our news stations with these horrible stories. And our brains feed off of that. And we allow our brains to run wild with that fear and that anxiety. But it doesn't do anything for us. It's not productive, right? We have to learn to retrain our brain to focus on the positive. Dr. Daniel Amen, somebody asked me in the chat earlier the book that I'm talking about. It's Conquer Your Negative Thoughts by Dr. Daniel Amen. In the book, he says that he wakes up every morning and says this statement: it's going to be a good day. And then at night, he bookends that with a question: what went well today? He said he has done that for years. And he does that to train his brain to focus on the positive things that are happening that day. Right? If you wake up in the morning and you say, today's going to be a good day, your brain now has the focus to search for those positive things. And at the end of the day, when you ask yourself, what went well today? It trains your brain to rescan the day to look for the positive. And in this, he actually gives a story about losing his dad. His dad died. He said it was the worst day of his life. He rushed over there. His dad stopped breathing. His mom was, a basket case. They had to open an investigation because the dad died in his home with, just the mom there. They knew that it was no foul play, but it's just protocol, right? He said they had to deal with the mortuary. They had all this stuff, right? He said it was literally the worst day of his life. And he was exhausted. And he said when he got home, he laid down and he has trained his brain so well that when he went to go to bed, his brain automatically thought, what went well today? And he got mad for a minute. And he's like, are you freaking kidding me? On the worst day of my life, I'm going to ask myself what went well today. But it was an automatic thought because he was in such a habit of that it automatically came up. But what happened was when it came up, he then started thinking and he's like, well, my mom, even in the worst moment of her life, didn't lose her humor when the officer told her that he had to open an investigation. His mom's response was, what, you think I was cheating on him and I offed him, right? Like she kind of made a joke, right? And then he said, then they had all these people that text him, called him, came to the house to see them. He's loved. His dad was loved. He had a lot of support. His brain automatically started thinking about those positive moments. And he said the worst day of his life became a little better because he realized all those positive things that happened in that day. And it was an automatic thing because he had been in such a habit of that it lessened the pain of that day because he found the positive in it. Guys, when we think a certain way, and this is something I always had to teach my clients, when we think a certain way or we act in a certain way repeatedly over time, we create these, they're called neural pathways in our brain. Think of it like a street, right? From point A to point B. This is what happens. And I'll use addiction as an example because that's an easy one. When I get stressed, I drink. Here's point A, here's point B. Sorry. I gave thumbs up. So now I got stuff going on behind me in the Zoom. But point A to point B, right? I get stressed, so I drink. That is a deep neural pathway that tells my brain when I get stressed, I need alcohol, right? It is it's like a crater in your brain because you've done it repeatedly. You've driven over that road, that dirt road, mud road, whatever, so many times, it's like a crater in your brain. You have created a very deep neural pathway. They can be redone. They can be erased, but it takes work. So when I got into recovery, I had to learn how to say, I'm stressed. I don't want to drink. So let me go this other way. I'm going to go to a meeting, right? Or I'm going to call my sponsor. I had to create other roads instead of that one directly to drinking. We can create other neural pathways, and the more you use them, the deeper they become, and now they become a habit to where you don't even have to think about it. Perfect example was him asking himself, what went well today? He had that neural pathway so deep and created in his brain that it was an automatic behavior. It was a habit. He didn't even have to think about it. It just popped up in his head because it was so deep, so ingrained in his daily routine that it just popped up, right? You can create new neural pathways and erase the old ones. It takes work. So be prepared to put in that work. Okay. We have to identify our automatic negative thoughts. That's why I wanted you guys to write these down, each one, right? And when you get off here, I want you to spend some time. Don't automatically just run off and go to your next thing, right? I mean, unless you absolutely have to, but take a few minutes, write down some examples for each of those 9 automatic negative thoughts. And then I want you to ask yourself, is it actually true? Like 100%, is it a fact? Or do I just say that because I somewhat believe it? I'm a bad mentor. Is that actually true though? Or could you just be a little bit better of a mentor and you're just not stepping up to the plate? Right? You're using I'm a bad mentor as an excuse to not do better. Say the positive statement that combats that automatic negative thought, but say it repeatedly, because we need to drive over that neural pathway road multiple times to make that a new road, right? To pave that baby in a good way. When they come up, write them down, the recurring ones, in a list, and then write out the positive counter statement to that automatic negative thought. Y'all, let me tell you this right now. You don't have to believe the positive statement at first. And I know that's where a lot of people get hung up, and where a lot of people are like, saying affirmations or saying positive statements don't work for me, because they think they have to believe it from the get-go. You don't have to believe it from the get-go, but if you do the behavior of saying it, eventually your brain will catch up and it will believe it. So just because you don't believe it now doesn't mean you won't believe it later. Okay. Here's a quote by Joseph McClendon that says, and I want you guys to write this down because this is very, very important. As you think, so you feel. As you feel, so you do. And as you do, so you have. Guys, however you think, and I'm going to put it in the chat box because I know I went over that fast. However you think is going to guide how you feel. And how you feel is going to guide your actions and what you do. And as you have actions, that is going to guide what you have. If I tell myself I'm a bad mentor, I start feeling down, frustrated, defeated, which means I'm feeling that way. So now I'm not doing the necessary things to be a good mentor. I'm canceling one-on-ones. I'm not reaching out to my agents. I'm not doing trainings. And as I don't do those things, now I lose my team. I have agents quit. I have agents go inactive. I have agents tell me that this isn't for them anymore. But let's flip that around. If I think I'm a good mentor, if I tell myself, let me rephrase that. If I tell myself I'm a good mentor repeatedly, I will start to believe it. I will then feel positive, hopeful, knowledgeable. And as I feel those things, now I step outside my comfort zone to say, okay, let me add some trainings. Let me schedule these one-on-ones. Let me reach out to my agents. And as I do that, now my agents feel supported and now my team grows. Your thoughts is where everything starts. It's not with your actions, because your actions are guided by what goes on in here. If you don't have this right first, the rest will not follow. It starts up here. And you can sit there and tell me that sounds silly. Granted, it kind of does. But with my knowledge, with my master's degree and my specific knowledge in counseling and the brain, I can tell you it is 100% true, regardless of how silly it sounds. The brain is the most powerful thing in the world, and we only use about 10% of it. There's a movie, and now I can't remember what the name of it is, but she eats this like drug or whatever that allows her to use 100% of her brain. And by the end of it, she's able to like morph her body, right? Now, granted, I don't know how accurate all that would be, but I do know that we only use about 10% of our brain. And when we focus our brain to seeing the positive and doing positive, it drastically changes our lives. So I can't imagine if we did use 90 or 100% of our brain. I can't imagine. Limitless. Thank you, Cassie. I can't imagine the power that we would have and the things that we could accomplish if we used more of our brain. Lucy, that's the movie. Limitless is the show. Thank you, Candace. Lucy is the movie that I was thinking of. Yeah. But if we used more of our brain, or we just focus that 10% in the right way, y'all, I'm not kidding when I say the sky is the limit. Because we've opened up our brain to see the possibilities when we ask, how can we make that happen? Right? How can we grow? We've opened up our brain, and now our neurons are firing and our neural pathways are going to say, oh, let me see if I can create something here. Where can we go? What road can we take to make that possible? And you look at the super successful people in this business, they all think like that. All of them. So if you're struggling to be successful in this, look at the way you're thinking. Are you focusing on the negative? Are you allowing these automatic negative thoughts to creep in every day? Because if you are, that's what's got to change. And you can think I'm crazy. That's fine. A lot of people do. You can think I'm crazy. You can think that's rubbish. But I'm going to challenge you. Try it for 3 months. And I mean, really try it. Don't just go through the motion, right? And then tell me it doesn't work when the whole time you had the thought that it wasn't going to work. Believe it. Even when you think it's nuts. Try it for 3 months and tell me if something doesn't change. Because I'm going to tell you right now, it will. I know because I've done it. I've been there. I had the negativity. I had to change that. And when I realized what I could do to change it, I went all in. Y'all, I am where I'm at. Amy is where she's at. Tommy Joe, Christina, Coco, all of us are where we're at because of our mindset and the fact that we choose to focus on the positive. We choose to block out those automatic negative thoughts and not allow excuses to guide our day-to-day lives. I am team no excuses, right? Even if it means that life is lifing, I know that that's temporary. I know that I just have to rise above. I have to lean on my tribe a little more, and thank goodness they're there. Right? Thank goodness they're there because they help keep me sane, or well, as sane as I am, but they help me in those times where maybe I need a little extra encouragement, I need a little extra help, whatever it may be. Okay. So for the homework, if you will, whatever, I want you guys to write down your examples of the automatic negative thoughts in those different categories. Okay. Then I want you to write the positive statement that combats those. Write it 10 times for each one. Right? That way we're having one negative statement, but we've got 10 positive to combat it. And then each day, I want you to start out your day saying, today is going to be a great day. And at the end of the day, I want you to ask yourself, what went well today? Write it down if you have to. Y'all, when I was early in recovery, I used to ask myself that every single day. What am I grateful for today at the end of the day? And even on those hard days, I would find something. And sometimes the only positive I could come up with was I stayed sober today. But that's okay. I found something positive because I needed to go to bed with a positive mindset. Right? So ask yourself at the end of the day, what went well today? And throughout the day, when you have those automatic negative thoughts that pop up, I want you to say out loud the positive statement to combat those. Say it 5 times. Identify the automatic negative thought. What am I doing right now? I'm fortune telling. Okay, let me back that up. I don't know the future. I don't know the future. I can make a different future. One of the things that I thank Founder for all the time is showing me a future, and my family, showing me a future that I never knew was possible for our family. I didn't know I could be where I'm at. I didn't know that I have the potential to do more, to continue to grow. He exposed me to that life simply by this business. Right? I now know that I don't know the future, and I know that the future is bright. I'm going places, and I believe that wholeheartedly. Right? Make sure that you combat those automatic negative thoughts when they come up, y'all. Because if you don't, you're going to stay stuck in them. They're going to continue to come up because that's the neuro pathway that's so deep. You have to create the new neuro pathway that is the positive one, not the negative one. When we focus on positive, we see more positive. When we focus on negative, we see more negative. It's kind of like when you buy a new yellow car. You're going to see more yellow cars on the road because it's been brought to the forefront of your mind because you have a yellow car. Before that, the same yellow cars were on the road. You just never noticed them because you weren't looking for them. Right? It's the same thing with positivity and negativity. All right, y'all. I hope this was helpful. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. I will see you guys later. Bye.
Hey, Ash.
Yeah.
Don't close it out. Just make me host because there's some people that jumped in for the Q&A.
Perfect. Let me find it.
Thanks.
There you are. Okay, you should have it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome.